All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. What the? All right, we'll be waiting for this 5-minute range. We're above view op right now. See, we got 2 minutes left. Are we on let me see. Oh, we're so far away from all-time highs. Trying to see how close we are to all-time highs. We are breaking highs on like a weekly chart. But give me a second. Let me just, all right. Man, we're ripping. This could be good. Not gonna lie. I mean, that low is pretty much set, so I'm gonna mark out that low. If it goes down there, I'll change it, but as of now, that's the low. And then we got 1 minute left for the high. We'll see how this goes. Ugh. See if NASDAQ is going to be good to us today. Uh, 30 seconds left. What the? Still pushing. Dang. 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, there's the high of that 5 minute. Quickly go to a 1 minute chart. Make sure I marked it out accurately. All right. Let me reset this connection because that gap is pissing me off. There we go. Why does Rhythmic take so long to connect? What the heck? Yeah, I'm trading today. If I get a setup, I'm taking it. I come in every single day. Every day. Minus the weekends, obviously. But every day I come in, and if I get a setup, I take it. So that loss that I took yesterday, right, I was kind of reviewing it, and looking back, I made a horrible mistake that I didn't even realize that I made until after. I guess I was so focused on, I was so focused on making a certain dollar amount that I made the grave mistake of placing my TP just because of risk to reward. Meaning, I didn't look at the chart and place my TP at an area of invalidation. I placed my TP just because of the risk to reward, the dollar amount instead of the invalidation point. And which is why yesterday, what ended up happening is it came like a point away from my TP and then reversed. Because there was a high and I had my TP above, which I should have had it right at the high. It is what it is. I learned from the mistake. Never again will I ever trade my P&L. Strictly charts. Whatever the chart gives me, that's what I take. It is what it is. So just letting you know so you don't make that same mistake. I feel like a lot of traders make that mistake. They start trading their they start trading their P&L. So what happens is you start placing limit orders in areas just because you want to make, just because you're risking maybe a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-2. So I have to have my order here. Don't do that. Always place in areas that make sense. It's like if the risk reward doesn't make sense based on the chart, then don't take the trade. But don't put your TP at an area just because, that's with the dollar amount you want. All right, we got a pretty decent sized range today. I would honestly prefer this thing to dump to the downside and kind of close outside the range here, but we'll see. If it loses this momentum here and kind of gets down there, we have view up down there, which would be awesome. If we could it would be a very nice trade. But we'll see. Now, as far as higher time frames go, let's see. We took out the high. Haven't really taken out a low. I mean, that's not really a low. That's just like a. So that's that. Right, then the same thing going on the 15-minute pretty much. Man, hold on. Give me a sec. I'll be back in a second. All right, that's what I like to see. We're starting to drop. I think we're at the we do have some gaps here, but just filled in this imbalance. See if we can I prefer this thing dropping and closing, down here, kind of taking out holding this as support. That's the ideal thing I would love to see. Which is what we're getting. We're coming up to view op now, so we'll see what happens here. There's going to be possibly some chop unless sellers can really start to hype this thing up. But obviously, we're going to get some buying pressure trying to step in at the view up. Big wick on the freaking 15-minute chart. You can see we have a massive wick. We just took out those highs. Now we're dropping. Just great. Those were pre-market highs too. Huh? All right, hold. My bad. My bad, guys. My bad. Busy guy. All right. Still trying to... Not quite getting that close yet. Alright, let's see if... Do have a lot of selling pressure that came in there. What's it gonna do? Kind of tapped off that imbalance, but I mean, we have a lot of room to the we have room to the downside, but we have that view up there that's gonna, obviously, like I said, it's probably gonna chop a little bit here. But eventually, oh crap, I forgot to check, oh man, news. Fudge. Damn, we got big news at 10 a.m., so gotta be careful for that. Core PCE, consumer sentiment. So we got a lot of red folder news at 10, so be careful at 10 o'clock. We could be waiting for that 10 a.m. news, who knows. Tapping into the couple of these imbalances, see what it does at these imbalances if it rejects them. Come on, NASDAQ. We got some resistance coming up here, but we'll see if it can... What's it gonna do? Can it break this resistance, or is it gonna hold? We just tapped into the last imbalance that was left from this leg down. So, we'll see if we get a rejection of this imbalance. Probably got, you know, you have some selling pressure come in, but the question is, can they hold it down? Or will they start breaking through it for the highs again? But pretty much, once kind of price breaks out, if price breaks out and holds out of this 5-minute range to any direction, that gives you a good idea of what the kind of the condition or the sentiment of the day kind of goes. So we're above view up. If we break above and start holding, then that tells you a lot that we could probably start trending to the upside. And for those of you who don't know, Apex... Oh, crap, my bad. For those of you who don't know, Apex is having a pretty big sale. So they have 60% off, and then $6 activation fees. And mind you, I paid like $140 to activate my accounts. I paid $140 to activate my accounts. Now they have $6 activation fees. Just because I guess they hit a milestone of, I think it's like 600 million in payouts. So they're doing this 60% off and $6 activation fee. So pretty good deal. All right, we're starting to kind of try to reject here. Oh man. Got like 12 minutes for the news. I don't know if this thing is just gonna wait. This thing is gonna just wait for news to come out, or I like Nas more. It just depends. Nas is more crazy. Nas is more volatile. It's more crazy, but that's what I like more. But I mean, ES is good too but it's more of a slower mover than Nas. And the point system difference of like, 10 points on the NASDAQ with 1 micro is like $20. I don't know what it is with ES, but I think it's less. I haven't traded ES in so long. Probably years I haven't traded ES. Once I moved to NAS, I kind of didn't go back. I was hoping we can get a close. I'm going to be trying to backtest the strategy this weekend, the breakout strategy. So I'm going to be doing some intense backtesting this weekend to try to figure out what the best scenario for when price does break outside this 5-minute range. What's a good strategy that gives a good win rate of, to be able to wait for a confirmation, maybe wait for a pullback to the 5-minute to try to take a long or a short off of, kind of like an opening range break strategy. But I got to figure out what the best, entry points, stop losses would have to be. I mean, there's a million different ways you could take it, right? You could take the breakout, have a stop loss at the opposite side of the range. You can wait for the breakout, wait for displacement, then wait for the pullback, get the pullback, and then have your stop below the lows. Like, there's so many scenarios you could do, and I kind of just have to go based on current market conditions for the past 2 months and just go over day by day and just keep doing that until I spot something that I can, like a similarity, until I spot a pattern like, hold up, wait, I've seen this happened last Tuesday. And that's the beauty of being able to actually manually backtest versus, people get the softwares that do the backtesting for you. You just put in the data and it backtests it for you. The problem with those softwares is you can't spot patterns, right? When you do manual backtesting, when you go day by day by day by day and you keep doing that, eventually you go, wait, and you start to see a pattern of, when it breaks out and it pulls back, and you begin to notice stuff. Versus in automatic backtesting, you don't notice that kind of stuff. So all right, pushing for those highs again. Holy crap. I really hope this doesn't give me a setup before news. I would prefer news to come out first, so I don't have to go through that. Regardless, I'll still take the setup, but obviously I don't want to. It's just my take profit trader accounts. I cannot trade before news or during news. All right, are we going to get this breakout finally? Took out the highs, but have not closed yet. See if this candle is going to close above that 5-minute range. We got like 30 seconds left. Question is this a sweep or is this a actual close above where we can... Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Aw, shit. I think it's gonna close. There we go. There's the close. Now we wait to see if do we get a displacement or is this a fake out back into the range? If it's a fake out back into the range, it's gonna look good for me to take advantage of that, possibly. But let it do its thing. We got 6 minutes left till news. News is a lot of red folder. Hopefully it doesn't make it go insanely to where it just messes everything up. The problem with news that can happen is if news gets super volatile, it ruins your risk to reward for a setup, right? Like, say if news comes out and it spikes it all the way to this pivot point and then drops back inside this range, then you're like, shit, well, now I have to have my stop above that candle. So it like screws up your risk to reward and can screw up the trade, possibly, if you wait after the news. So, but we'll see. We'll play it by ear and kind of go from there. Looks like it's trying to pull back inside 5 minutes. This is the longest 5 minutes ever. Trying to hold this level as support, but trying to push it back into the range. Oh my gosh, I swear, if this gives me a setup right before news, I'll take it. Obviously light size, but last time news came out, it ran without me. I got an entry. I literally had a limit order. I don't know if any of you remember. I had a limit order in right before news, and then as news was coming out, I obviously canceled my limit order, and it just ran right without me. So, it's freaking tough. Hopefully that's not the scenario for today. But you could see, obviously, as of now, buyers aren't strong enough. We're pushing back into the range, which kind of signals the first red flag. If we can't hold this as support and we start dropping back inside the range, that's kind of a red flag for the bulls. Three minutes. 2 minutes, actually. But overall sentiment obviously is bullish right now. We're above UOP, we're above the 200. So we're overall pretty bullish sentiment, but doesn't mean it's just gonna keep going up. All right, 1 minute. All right, so we're pretty much good now. I'm not gonna get a setup before news. That's good. Question is, how volatile is this thing gonna be? It could get pretty volatile, so be careful. If you're in a trade, be very careful. Maybe even possibly exit out of the trade, because this could get crazy. $20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. Oh, it's not bad. All right, that's good. Very good. That's what I was scared of, is see this wick right here? I was scared that was going to be a massive wick. So sometimes that does happen. All right, nice. Now let's kind of see if I get a setup here. Depending on what they do here. I mean, we technically got room all the way for this 724 level in terms of like highest probability, because right, it's pretty much a straight shot. You could have some support right there. Obviously there's a gap that's not been filled yet, and we have VWAP and we have the 200, so a lot of support in this area. So if I do get a setup, TP would have to be somewhere, probably body candle low of this candle, so probably around that 724 level would have to be a TP if I get a setup. But you can see it's holding this imbalance right now. See what it does here. Give me a win, NASDAQ. See, this is kind of like, this would be the strategy I would be looking for, that I'm going to be trying to backtest. You see how it's kind of holding as support? So, like, if it starts displacing above, technically you would think, right, when it starts displacing above, either it pulls back and holds it as support again, So we'll see. Again, I have to back test it and see what works the best. Because the problem with this strategy is you get about like 2 setups a week. So on average. So you have to be very patient with this strategy. So I kind of want to make another strategy that I can take trades, you know. When I don't have trades on this strategy, I have trades on this strategy, which is pretty much this type of thing. See, if we start displacing above, then technically you would think, right, that we would start holding this as support. Or we should if we're going to continue to go up. Come on, sell this thing off. All right, they're not having the buying pressure. I don't know, buyers seem like they're having trouble pushing this up. I mean, it's going very slowly. What kind of deals does Tradeify have right now? Let me see. Does Tradeify have anything going on? I think Tradeify just came out with a bunch of new rules. Supposedly good rules, not bad rules, but... Tradeify. 30% off. Experience the best futures prop firm with new select. Oh, the select plans. Okay, I don't want that. We'll see. Gosh, is it displacing? See, if you... Trying to figure out, what could you have... I guess you kind of could, once it forms a high... kind of a breakout, that would not be like a bad trade. So when it breaks out like that and it pushes back and holds as support and comes back to break that high again, but here's the thing, you would have got caught if you would have took a breakout in this candle. Or just the gap, when you have a gap that pairs with the 5 minute and you take an entry off that gap just for a quick, you know, 1-to-1, stop below the low of that gap. I tend to want to go for higher win rate trades versus risk to reward. But there's something here. I know there's something here. I mean, it's a super popular... The 5 minute opening range break is like a very popular strategy. And it kind of gives you the the sentiment, right? When we break out of this range and start holding it as support, you kind of get a feel of where we could go for the rest of the, you know, not the rest of the day, but like overall, you know, like they say, the best strategy is like a trend following strategy. Whatever the trend is, you follow the trend. So I'm gonna be back testing the other break-in strategy. It works, but the problem is right, you get it like it doesn't happen all the time. Like I said, it's about 2 times. You get 2 setups per week. So I want another strategy that I can use to, you know, to trade, so I don't come in and just. In that case, I'll get a setup every single day pretty much, because it's like either the break-in strategy works or you get a breakout and you go for the breakout strategy. So one of the two strategies plays out every single day for sure, right? So it's kind of the idea behind it. And I like to diversify my PropFirm accounts, so, you know, to be able to have Apex and take profit and Tradeify, and it's like diversifying your portfolio. All right, I mean, if we start really ripping, then if we go and we start hitting this pivot point, then I'm probably gonna hop off. Woke up a little late, yeah. 30 minutes late. We are starting to rip. I mean, do we have any, what's higher time frame wise? We're displacing above these highs, so I mean, that like says everything you need to know. Do y'all not set an alarm or anything? How do you wake up? How do you wake up late? You not set an alarm? So I am going to be getting more. So this month for, I mean, Saturday night, Sunday, I'm going to be probably Sunday, honestly, all day. I'll probably be back testing for most of the day. I'm going to figure this out, man. This other strategy. I'm going to see what I could do. So I will be buying Tradeify accounts this weekend. Probably 2 accounts. I don't want to overdo it. I'll just get 2 more accounts. I'll have, at that point, I'll have, what, 7 funded accounts, and then I'll get 2 more. That's a different, that's this other strategy. So I think 2 strategies is a good balance for me. I don't want to have more than 2 strategies. Then it just gets overwhelming. Woke up and fell asleep again. Bro, that could you know what I've noticed? That could screw you up. Like, if you wake up, I almost feel like it's worse when you wake up and then just go back to sleep. And then sometimes when you wake up again, you're like super tired. Versus if you just wake up and force yourself to get up. I'm the type of person, it's very easy to fall asleep again. Like, some people, when they wake up, they can't go back to sleep. I can wake up and I could still go back to sleep, no problem. I'll fall asleep within like 5 seconds. You know what's a crazy fact I learned? Went to sleep at 2, woke up 10. I actually went to sleep at 2. I go to bed at 2 a.m. every single morning. I mean, every single night. Technically morning, but I go to bed at 2 a.m. So, and I wake up at, well, shoot, 8:40. So I go to bed at 2, wake up at 8:40, and pretty much, you know, I don't even eat in the mornings. I wash up everything and then go straight out the door to the office. And then I trade at the office for about an hour and a half till like 11 o'clock. Sometimes earlier I get off, and then I go back home and eat. And then eat, relax for like an hour and a half, and then go back to work working on cars. Go back to the office. And that's pretty much, and then I work for the rest of the day on cars and getting stuff ready, and pretty fun day. But, oh, what I was going to say. You know what's a crazy fact I learned? When you sleep, and you know how your body goes into deep sleep at the very, like, you know, your body goes through different stages of sleep when you're sleeping. Did you know that your mind paralyzes your body? So you're literally, everyone, you should get paralyzed every single night. Which is like a crazy fact to know. So the people that sleepwalk, you know, it's like inside their brain, you're not supposed to sleepwalk because your brain is technically supposed to paralyze you at night. Hence why some people wake up what's called sleep paralysis. So that's what happens is when your brain doesn't shut off the paralysis. It's supposed to shut it off, and then you're supposed to wake up. Sometimes people wake up while they're still in that paralysis state. So you get this sleep paralysis where people wake up and they can't do anything. Like they can't move. It's because they're still technically, their brain is still in that stage. It's freaking crazy. When I learned that, I was like, what? Everyone gets paralyzed at night? Your freaking brain is wild. It's like if you actually start learning about, it is crazy the way your brain and your body in general works. Like, how the hell does that all work? So you're telling me you have like, you're electrical and chemical. So you have chemical reactions and electrical pulses going through your brain, and somehow you're able to function and operate? It's freaking wild. Yeah, and all this is happening. You're not even knowing you're not even having to think about it. I'm the type of person, I'll go into deep, I don't know if anybody else is like this, but I'll go into deep rabbit holes. Like, especially with AI, bro, AI now is like, it is such a powerful tool if you use it correctly. Like, I'll have these moments where I'm bored or something, and I'll just like go on a rabbit hole. For example, I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, a thought will pop into my head. Like, you know where people get like limbs amputated and they have phantom pain? I'm like sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm like, so hold on, when somebody gets like a limb amputated and they have phantom pain, how does their brain technically still thinks that leg is still there? And then I just go on an AI rabbit hole and I just start freaking digging into everything about, I'll be like on an hour binge of figuring out why somebody has phantom pain. And it's pretty interesting how it works. And how your body rewires itself. So when somebody gets like a limb amputated, those like, what are they called? I think they're like neurons or whatever. But you have these like strings where they'll actually rewire itself. So you can have scenarios where somebody, because your body rewired itself, you can have scenarios where somebody loses their leg and then, right, so they don't have their leg anymore. But if they try to wiggle their toe, their like cheek starts to move. It's because that rewired to a portion of their brain that's tied to that. So they're like trying to wiggle their toe. Obviously they don't have a leg anymore. they're trying to wiggle their toe and their cheek starts to move. Like, you can get those scenarios. It's pretty crazy. AI, so yeah, dude. This is my prediction. AI, there's going to be two different sides of what's going to happen with AI. This is my prediction with it. So, obviously, people are going to get either stupider with AI because everyone uses AI to the point where, like, you're not thinking. You're just constantly using AI. Like, even people in school, right? People in school aren't trying to actually learn the stuff. They're just using AI to do the work. So I think there's going to be two sides of the spectrum where people get very stupid. And then there are other people that use AI as a learning tool. And there are going to be way more geniuses and smarter people because of AI. I'm telling you, AI is like a thing where you could just go on a rabbit hole and you can learn so much information. And the cool thing is, I know it's kind of like a geeky thing, but like the more you learn, the easier it is to learn new information. If you didn't know that. So stupidly enough, AI is already happening. Yeah, it's already happening. It's like, yeah, you can get through, like, you can figure stuff out, but like the problem is if you're not, people don't realize people go to the gym, right? People go to the gym, they work out every single week, some people every single day. If you do not work out your brain, you're going to become stupider. It's just, your brain is a muscle. And if you've ever I've had scenarios where I'm like, I live in Florida. We have a lot of bad drivers in Florida. And I encounter scenarios where for me, it's like common sense. I'm looking at this like scenario or person and I'm like, bro, this is common sense. Why would you do this? But for the other person, it seems like not to be common sense. And it's not because, I think it's just because the person maybe doesn't use their brain enough. And I don't know. It's just like, the other day I saw, here's what happened. The other day, I'm driving on the freaking highway. And there's a car in the middle of the highway, like on the very right side lane. So the car just stopped. No blinkers, no flashers, no hazards, no person standing by the car. And the car is closed. And I drive by. Nobody in the car. The car is freaking in the middle of a highway in the afternoon with nobody around. And I'm just like, I mean, who in your right mind, like, why would you think it's a good idea to leave your car in the middle of a highway? I understand maybe you broke down. Maybe something happened. But the person was nowhere to be found at all. I mean, it's like no hazards are on, no nothing. Like, you're just asking for something to happen. But yeah, it's just like, that's why that happens. Where you look at a person and one person's common sense is another person doesn't see that, is because your brain is a muscle. If you don't use your brain, sorry to say it, but you're gonna get stupider. And then you have, you have these anomalies of like Elon Musk and Albert Einstein. They weren't born geniuses. None of them were born geniuses. The reason they got to where they are is because they became obsessed. Any topic, anything you become obsessed about, you're going to become a genius in that topic. Whether it's trading, right? Whether it's trading or some kind of e-commerce business or anything about, math or science, whatever. When a person becomes so obsessed with it that they constantly are learning about it, right? You naturally become a genius in that topic. So that's the tip. You never get to a point where you stop learning. I know it sounds like people, whoa, that's, nerd or whatever, learning. Bruh, you should always be learning unless you want to be in your 40s and be an idiot. I can't say the words. It's TikTok. Unless you want to be an idiot, and I don't think anybody wants to be an idiot, so. And there are so many hacks. Like if people were just to learn and take like some interest in actually learning how your brain works, then you begin to understand what you need to do to break certain habits, right? Why you have habits. Why is it hard for you to stop doing this, whether it's smoking or whatever it is? Like, why is it hard for you to stop? You figure it out, and you can actually rewire your brain by doing certain things. It's not like a conspiracy theory. It's actually proven medical stuff you can do. All right. After that tangent, back to the market. All they care is getting through essays and exams. Yeah, I mean, that's like, this is why college is like, people don't really go to college to actually learn. Like, to me personally, right? I'm like, I was one class away from getting my bachelor's until I just stopped. I literally had my bachelor's degree, but then I realized I'm not going to be using this degree, so I just kind of like, I was literally one class away from getting it. And they just kept adding classes, and I just kind of like, I'm done with this. But like, I know how it was. I mean, you have an exam and stuff. All you want to do is pass the exam. You don't give a crap about learning the information, right? And this is kind of why college is like, I don't know, it's tough. It's like, unless you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or something that you need a college education for. Other than that, it's becoming, in today's society, it's becoming less and less necessary. Right? Like 30 years ago, like, college was necessary. Like, if you didn't go to college, you were pretty much a loser. Now it's like, no, not many people. Now it's like not many people even go to college anymore. Was the market this choppy from open? Yeah, we had a little bit of chop. Not too choppy. Pretty much opening price, we had this 5-minute range set, right? So then we pushed to the opposite side of the 5-minute range. We had this as support. We held it as support, and then we started ripping to the upside. And then once we finally broke out of this 5-minute range, we held this 5-minute range as support and continued ripping to the upside. So I'm going to be backtesting something. There's something else here. I don't know. I don't know what it is exactly, but I know it's there. I can, like, there's so much predictable moves that happen. I just have to backtest them. Like, how many times do you see, like today, right? Bounced off the low of the 5 minutes, pushed out through the high, bounced off the high, and then continued going to the upside. Let's look at what happened yesterday. Look at yesterday as an example. All right, here's yesterday. Here's yesterday's range. What happened yesterday, right? We broke out of the range. Where was it? 9. Okay, here's the range that was set. So we kind of, you can see what happens. I think my lines got messed. I don't want to move it to a different, hold on, 9. Oh, okay. So here's the top of the 5-minute, and then here's the low. You can see we just dumped down to the bottom of the 5-minute range, and we kept chopping. Look how many times this bottom of the 5-minute range held as support. Look at this. Here. Here it kind of broke below, but then pushed right back through it. Look at all the times. Here it really displaced below it. But look what happens. Displaced below it, came back up, and look, tested it 1 time, tested it 2 times, and then ripped to the upside. I mean, you could kind of see how many times. And then look, even here, look, tested it again, tested it again, tested it again. Like, the amount of times that 5-minute range gets tested and holds, I'm telling you, there's something there. I have to backtest it and figure out rules for myself, right? Whatever those rules are, so that I'm not just sitting there and taking random trades constantly. So I have a set of rules that I need to follow to keep myself, disciplined and not overtrade. That's the big thing about rules in trading, is rules are there to prevent you from overtrading. When somebody's overtrading, that means they typically don't have rules. They're just kind of buying and selling at random areas. And then you get overtrading. But when you have specific rules you look for, You can't overtrade if you follow those rules because you're looking for specific criteria that doesn't happen necessarily every 10 minutes, right? So when you take a trade and you take a loss, you know, you don't get another setup. In my MetaTrader 5, there is a gap on 25,538. 25. That's way down there. Are you sure it's... Oh, you're talking about this bounce right here? Probably 25,538. That's way down there. It's like... There's a pivot point down there. Let me see. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me go to a different... What am I doing? Different time frame. I mean, there's a small... Oh, on a 1 minute chart? Typically 1 minute gaps, they don't... you gotta be careful with 1 minute gaps. They don't hold as much weight as higher time frame gaps. They get faked out way more times, like probability wise. I guess my chart, hold on. Oh, what the? Oops. So you're talking about somewhere here. Yeah. Yeah, I would be careful with 1 minute gaps because they're just a lot of fake outs. You could use them, but as long as you have rules in place why you're taking it, not just taking every... You cannot see it on Tradevate. Yeah, I would... Those kind of gaps, if... I would disregard them. That's such an insignificant gap. And the smaller the gap, the more likely it could break. Versus like a bigger gap, there's more weight to it. Like this one right here. Look at this gap right here. Right, we held this gap, this massive gap. So there's a higher likelihood chance of price holding this gap than you get like a super tiny gap like that where it just breaks right through it without any... How do you mark the pivot points? Where can I find them? It's an indicator. So depending on the platform you use, type in either pivots, pivot points, something along those lines. And yeah, it's just the default settings, whatever it is. No opportunities, no. Oh, and yesterday, for those of you who were here yesterday, let me actually go back to yesterday's trade. So I took a loss yesterday, and it was completely my fault, and I didn't realize that until after. So I had taken this trade yesterday, right? Or was it? Somewhere around here. Where was it? Right there, I think. Hold on. The risk to reward was not technically, I mean, it was there, but so I had entered in the middle of this gap right here just to kind of target these highs. The problem I made was, and this is just, I'm telling you this as a learning opportunity for you guys too. This was a learning opportunity for me. and for it to be a learning. This is why I say you got to go over your losers to try to figure out what you did wrong. I know exactly what I did wrong that caused me to lose on this trade. And I didn't realize this until after I went back and then I was thinking about the trade. And then I guess, I don't know what happened in my mind, but I just got... So, when I entered the trade, I put my stop loss, I put my take profit in an area where I was just looking at my P&L. Like, oh, I need, you know, if I'm risking, I need to put my stop loss here based on P&L. And that was a grave mistake that I made. And whoever was there, right, I had my limit order up here and it barely came up to my limit order and then tanked and stopped me out. If I would have had my level based on the chart, not where my P&L, where I wanted it to be, I should have had my stop. I should have had my take profit right above this wick right here. Right above that candle wick should have been my take profit. And then I would have gotten filled on a full, you know, TP, and then it would have dropped. But because I had it at a stupid area, it ended up edging me and then freaking dropping and stopping me out. That's just the rule. Never trade your P&L. Always trade based off the chart. If the risk to reward is garbage, do not take the trade. But do not take the trade and put your take profit just in an area just because you need to make this much money. You know, never do that because you're going to get wrecked. It's always you go based off the chart. All right, we're in this area. Where is the highest prop? Okay, I think we can go up and we can at least take out these highs. All right, have my TP there. You know, if we kind of pushed above, we took out those highs, you get another setup. All right, we're bouncing off here. What's the next level? Next highest level is this body candle high up here. Boom, that's where it goes for. These highs up here, and then it drops. So you always target, for me, I always like to target, because I typically have a 1-to-1, highest probability areas. Now, sometimes my risk to reward is worse than a 1-to-1, right? Sometimes it's never like a crazy negative RR. Sometimes it's, you know, I'll be risking 400 to make 330, 340, right? It would be a little bit negative, but it's still worth taking the trade based off probabilities. And then sometimes it's better than a 1-to-1. So, but it averages out in the long run to be a 1-to-1. But what I'm saying, you know, I don't want anybody to go through that too and make that same mistake is always trade the chart. Never trade P&L. Never put your take profit just because you need to make that much money. It doesn't work. You're going to get stopped out. Well, obviously, it depends on the strategy too. Maybe for some strategy, it could work, but I think it's always best to. And it's just like stupid stuff like that, right? Stupid stuff like that causes you unnecessary losses. And this is why trading is hard, is because, right, it's you start to take unnecessary losses. You take stupid mistakes that you shouldn't have took. It's like, I don't know. It happens in everything, right? So, even in sports, right? If you play basketball, if you're on a basketball team and you miss a layup, right? The coach is gonna make you run laps for that. Like, you should not be missing. If you're playing basketball on a team, you should not be missing layups, right? So if you miss a simple, easy layup, like, bro, you're running laps for that. Same thing in trading. Like, if you're making stupid mistakes that you shouldn't even be making, it does happen, but you got to learn from them. All right, I mean, at this point, I mean, there's nothing. I think I'm going to just walk away for the day. I mean, we're just chopping sideways at this point now. Ugh. So I will be again. So I'll be hopping off. I will be trying to back test something this weekend for when this happens here, right? When this type of price action happens, because I've seen this happen recently a lot, and I think I could capitalize it when we get these big moves to the upside. But when we hold this 5-minute high, I just got to figure out my entries, my stop losses, and all that. So that's what I'll be doing this weekend. Probably Sunday. Usually Sunday's the day where I don't do anything, so I'm just going to sit there and I'm going to grab a coffee and I'm going to sit there and just stare at the charts and backtest and backtest and backtest till I figure something out. And then I'm going to buy this weekend. I'm going to buy Tradeify accounts, and then hopefully by Monday I'll start trading with those Tradeify accounts too. So I'll have two separate strategies. So I'll have this strategy, and then I'll have my other strategy that happens like twice a week on average. And yeah, we'll continue building both accounts up. I think it'll put me in a good spot. So I'm just not coming in here and just constantly just missing out on trades just because of I only have one strategy. I got that strategy down. I know what to do, so I can kind of diversify now and look for more strategies to use. That being said, I'm going to hop off. Y'all have a good weekend. I'll see you all Monday. Thanks for stopping by. Apex does have a crazy good sale going on, so if you're looking to get some accounts, look out for Apex's sale. $6 activation fees, 60% off. So, that being said, have a good weekend, and I'll see you guys Monday. Peace out.